Hello everyone, this is Priyanka. Today we are going to learn the Module 4 user defined functions and recursion in the subject C programming for problem solving. Okay, so before going to this, we should learn what exactly the function means. Okay, a function is what? It's a collection of the statements that can perform a specific task. Okay, as we have the any algorithm or sample programs or the any kind of the simple programs. Okay, for them we are going to follow certain steps in order to solve a given problem. Okay, same thing, the function is also a contains a collection of the statements that performs a specific task. The main reason for the function using a function is that it breaks the entire program into small units. Okay, so if we make if we break the entire program into small units, it is very useful for us to manage the each unit and make a combination of them. Then you can reduce the program size also. For that purpose we are going to use the function. So the main for function, there are basically two types of the functions are used in a C programming. The first one is a library function or the built-in function, and second one is a user defined function. Coming to the point of the first one, library function, or you can call them as a built-in function. So all the built-in functions or the library functions are supported by the C language. Okay, and they are already built in, and we should not bother about how exactly this library function works because it is already predefined by the C programming language itself. Okay, so we have to accept as it is. For example, the built-in function that we have used in the programming is printf statements, scanf statements, string copy, string concatenation, so on. So we are going to use the standard built-in function in order to find out the any square root of a given number. We are going to use a built-in function called sqrt function. Okay, so like this we are going to use a certain library functions to perform our operations. Then coming to the second type of the function is a user defined function. So coming here, what exactly this user defined function? So the user defined function is always defined by the user according to their requirement. So how the requirements are based on that, the users will define the certain function in order to split the entire program into the smaller units. Okay, so instead suppose sometimes what happens instead of relying on all the built-in functions, we can create our own function to perform certain operations. So the main advantages of a function is what? It will help us to divide the larger programs into smaller one, so that we can understand and debug the program quicker and better. The second advantage of this having the function is multiple persons can work on the same program. Okay, if suppose I am having the n number of persons to perform on the same program, only a single program will be used. If we use the function, if we have n number of functions declared in a program, then n number of functions are worked by the n number of the persons. So means at a time we can work on several functions. Next, last advantage is that it will prevent us from writing the same logic multiple times. If suppose same logic to be used for n number of times, it will reduce the writing the same content in the program again and again. And the last one, I can say that it will help us to call the same function over and over. If you write once, then you can call the same function n number of times. The question is, how can I use it in my C program? Before that, we should learn how exactly we can declare the function. So the function declaration will start from the a return type, function name, and the number of arguments along with the data types. So the syntax with respect to the function declaration is, first we have to declare the return type, the function name, and the argument list, where return type is what? The return type is the data type of the value that is returned or sent from the function. Suppose if you write the small function that has to return something, so that the return is defined by the return type, and this always contain the any data type, whether it can be integer, floating point, string, or character, double, so on. So it depends on a function that we declare. The second main part in the function declaration is function name. We should always specify the name to the given function. Next, last one is the argument list. How many arguments that you would like to pass in a function? No, those many arguments should be listed in the particular function name. For example, if suppose I would like to find out the largest of the number among x and y, I'm going to like, what is the return type? Largest of the two numbers is what? Like integer. So the return type will be the int, and what is the function name? Large. You can take anything, okay, like large or like large int, you can take anything, okay. Next here I'm going to find out the largest of the two numbers, hence I have going to like pass the two arguments, that is int x and the int y. So the int x is what? X and y are the two numbers are accepted by the users. Next one. So how can define a function or call the function? So the general form of the user defined function in the C language is return type space function name, then like in the bracket you are going to give parameter list or the argument list. Next, open a flower brace, body of the function, and close the like a flower brace. Or this is what the one type, or you can take like return type, function name, and parameter list, and open the brace, like local variable declaration can do, and body of the function you can maintain. So if you want to like declare the any variables, then you have to use this syntax. If you are not going to use any kind of the local variables inside the body, then you are going to use this syntax. There are two like a syntax to be used for defining a function. Next, for this, like the return type, when the function is called, the function may or may not return the return type. Return value, like a return value may be exist or may not be exist for a user defined function. The function name should always be the name of a function, and that is called using the function name. Like suppose if you would like to call any function, that should have the name. And last but not the least is the what, like the parameter or the argument type. The parameter is what, as I said, like how many arguments that you would like to pass it in a function, and it acts as a placeholder where the function is invoked, and you can pass the value to the parameter. Next, the other content we can use in a function, user defined function syntax is local variable declaration and the function body. The local variable declaration contains like if you want to if you would like to like specify any like value variables, then you can use the local variable declaration. Suppose if you would like to like specify the a variable called a, which is of the type integer, then you can say int a in a function body. Next, the last part is the function body. The function body contains the collection of the statements that can define what the function does. The last part is what, the last element we can say that in the function is a calling function. So the first element is defining, second one is calling a function, and third one is a like a declaration of the function. So the last part we are going to handle is the calling the function. Here this calling the function is calling the original function with a valid number of the arguments and valid data type. While creating a C function, you have to give the definition of what the function has to be. Like suppose like function name and the argument list, it will give them like a declaration of the function. Then argument list will be containing the constants, variables, or the expressions, and so on. So for example, you can say int m comma n. And we should always carefully note that the user defined function name should exactly match the calling function. If you are calling any user defined function, no, that has to be called in a main function, and both the names should be same.